Why is rendering animal fur more challenging than human hair for artists? Imagine trying to paint a fluffy, multi-layered cloud of tiny hairs that move in different directions. That's what artists face when rendering animal fur. It's not just longer hair, it's a whole different world of texture and behavior. First, animal fur is made up of many short, densely packed strands that create a soft, fluffy surface. Human hair, on the other hand, tends to be longer, smoother, and flows in more uniform clumps. This means fur has a more complex volume and texture to capture accurately. The overlapping strands in fur go in multiple directions and vary greatly in length and thickness. This erratic pattern makes it harder to simplify or stylize compared to human hair, which usually follows a clear flow. Light interacts with fur differently too. Because fur is fluffy, it scatters light softly, producing gentle reflected highlights and subtle shadows. Human hair reflects light more sharply, giving it that shiny, sleek appearance. When fur gets wet or dirty, it can reflect surrounding colors intensely, creating high contrast between bright highlights and deep shadows. This adds another layer of difficulty because artists need to carefully depict how light and moisture affect the fur's look. Color variation within animal fur is often more complex. Fur can contain multiple hues and tones within a small area, including undercoats and guard hairs. Artists must layer colors and shadows carefully to show depth and realism. Human hair usually has less drastic variation in small areas, making it easier to render with fewer layers. From a digital painting perspective, artists often start with basic shapes and colors on separate layers to build up volume without flattening the texture. They use soft brushes that don't blend too easily, gradually adding shadows and highlights to mimic the natural waviness and randomness of fur. Techniques like clipping layers help contain shadows within the fur shape, preserving its form. Adding reflected light softly with airbrush tools enhances the softness and depth. Overlay layers with cooler colors can simulate shadow depth and create a three-dimensional feel. Because fur strands go in many directions, artists switch between painting and transparent modes to refine details without losing the brush texture. In contrast, rendering human hair focuses more on defining the flow and direction of longer strands. Artists manage fewer layers and emphasize sharper highlights and smoother blending. The density, randomness, and complex light behavior of animal fur make it more difficult to render convincingly. It requires layered, careful brushwork and lighting techniques tailored to fur's unique properties. That's why capturing animal fur realistically takes more time, patience, and skill than rendering human hair.